Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Outraised Voices. I'm so glad you're here. I'm always so glad you're here. And if you've been here before, if you've visited the channel, thank you for your support and to have these voices heard in the world, to have the support for the voices who share so bravely. And if you're new here, thank you. Thank you for showing up and checking us out. I'm Sharon Lee Williams. This is Outraised Voices. Now, today, my guest is now Randall Ajay. Now, before I even get to introducing him to you, I got to tell you his stuff. He's got a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of stuff. He's inspiring. I'm sure you're just going to be inspired when you hear what he has to say and what he's done. And that's what we're here to do, is to inspire you, encourage you, and to share the message and be in community. So let's talk a little bit about Randall. Randall is an entrepreneur, a speaker, spoken word practitioner who uses his gifts to empower the message of alchemy. Now, we're going to ask him what all of that means. And in 2021, he was appointed Ontario's first poet laureate. He's also the founder of one of Toronto's largest youth-led initiatives, reaching intelligent souls everywhere. Rise Edutainment. That is exciting and certainly wonderful. We're going to talk to him about all of that. Randall is also the author of I Am Not My Struggles. That was released in 2018. And I'm not sure that this is my favorite Randall, but it's just my heartbeat when I saw in 2020, Randall opened up for President Barack Obama at the Economic Club of Canada. So that's not all Randall. He's much more than these few little paragraphs. Welcome, Randall. Thanks for joining me here on Outraised Voices.
Thank you, Sharon Lee, and thank you to everyone watching on Outraised Voices. Great to see, or great for you to see me, I guess, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody how we sort of met, and which is now, I think, about 8 months ago. I feel like it's about 8 months ago. And I went to a function that I didn't know I was going to. It was one of those impromptu things that I decided I would show up at. And then this young man gets on stage, and you were just so commanding with your voice, with your style, with what you had to say. And not only that, the youth, the people who were watching you were listening. You know, they were really, really listening, engaged. And I was blown away. So I approached you after you finished at the end of the function, and we were here 8 months later. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great meeting you. Love your energy too.
Thank you. So I was going to start with a bunch of questions, which I do have, but I want to ask, do you have a favorite accomplishment?
Favorite accomplishment, it's hard to wrap it into. It's layered. My favorite accomplishment would probably be, though, becoming the Poet Laureate of Ontario, because it's twofold. You know, my parents are from Ghana, West Africa, worked tirelessly, both of them tirelessly, to give me a better future, to give me things that they never had. And I was in my second year of university, and I went to my mom and my dad. I said, I think I want to be a poet. And they were not very pleased. They were very disappointed. My dad, especially, he didn't talk to me for like maybe a couple months. Very disappointed that I made that choice. But I'm a rebel by nature. Not a rebel, but I have a purpose, and I know my purpose, and no one or nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And I think maybe a little bit of naivete, but the reason why it's my favorite is because after telling my mom and my dad what I wanted to do, maybe about 10 years later, 9 years later, being appointed as the Poet Laureate of Ontario, my dad is there. He's seeing all the members of parliament, all the members of provincial parliament standing up, clapping, the speaker of the house, everybody there is standing up, clapping for his son. My dad loves politics. And so for him to be in that space, and he turned to me and he said, Randall, like, this is the first time I've ever been in parliament. And he said, I'm proud of you. And this was probably the first time my dad's ever said he's proud of me and about anything. I have a lot of accomplishments, but about anything. I knew how my mom felt. You know, my mom oozes her pride. My dad withholds it. So that moment, not for me at that age, but for the little boy inside who was always seeking that approval from his mom and his dad, who was always seeking, do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you recognize me? And I say twofold because the second part of it is for all the young, Black, racialized youth who've ever gone through the system, who've been arrested, who've been suspended, who've been labeled, who've been criminalized, who've been victimized by their own identity. I wanted them to see that that does not have to be your definition, but it can be your design. And so all to say that probably is the most prideful, or the one I'm most proud of, because it's twofold and it serves a purpose to everybody around me.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. That's the other side of it is that what did your dad, you know, we all, as a parent, it's like doctor, lawyer, teacher, engineer, poet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about that, your parents and Ghana, because I know you relayed a story to me, your beginnings, and if you'd be okay with sharing that, like what happened between the ages of 1 to 6 and how you started.
Absolutely. I was born in Scarborough. I love Scarborough, Ontario. Scarborough made me the person I am. At an early age, my parents had to make a really difficult choice. They came here as permanent residents. And I think with my dad, he had some challenges getting his citizenship. And so let's just say he had some immigration issues and he had to go back home. And, you know, my mom had a really tough choice to make. And the choice she had to make was, you know, do I keep this 1-year-old and trying to raise enough money to bring my husband back and to bring the rest of my children from Ghana back? I have 3 brothers that were back home at the time. And so they made the choice to send me back home. And, you know, being so young, not having my mom with me, my dad wasn't really coming around. His sister, my aunt, who was raising me at the time. And I met another woman who I learned was my mom, or was told to be my mom. So I believed since I was 1.5 until just before I came back that was my mom. And, you know, when I found out she wasn't my mom, it was really like heartbreaking. You know, I remember being 5 years old and hearing this news, like, what do you mean? And then coming here and meeting my mom. So long story short, what I discovered was that for many years, I was feeling this sense of lack, the sense of unworthiness, the sense of something being wrong with me, that I did something wrong, that I never deserved my parents' love. And so growing up, it made it really difficult for me to, you know, just open up and allow people into my life. I was always safeguarded. I was scared that if I let you in, that maybe you'd leave, that if I allowed you to become a friend, and I lost many friends, you know, along the way.
That.
And abandonment does that, as you know, like you just, this fear of it happening again, this fear of somebody ripping that wound again. And, you know, I'd done a lot of work to work on and heal through some of the things that I'd gone through. But long story short, what I can say about navigating abandonment in my adolescence and in my childhood was that I took my anger out on other people, and I just never knew my worth. And so I kind of like gave my value in places they didn't belong, to people who didn't deserve it. And to this day, you know, there's still elements that I'm still working through, but for the most part, I'm proud of the man that I am, and the little boy who was able to tell me how he felt in some very spiritual conversations I had with him, and just proud of the journey I've been on.
That's beautiful. And we don't have the language when you're young to say we're just going to lash out in whatever way we're
Exactly.
going to lash out. I mean, we don't we do what we know, what
Absolutely.
feels protective
Mm-hmm.
at the time. So you didn't have the language to even say, okay, what does that mean? Navigate. I have to navigate that, and just let me get through the day. Let me get through the year.
That's it.
Let me get through this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when your brother, oh, you said you had two brothers who were in Ghana, right?
Yes,
They
indeed. Yeah.
were they born in Scarborough or born in Ghana?
Born in Ghana.
So when you okay, and they came back with you to Scarborough, is that what happened? Or
They didn't come back for when I came back. They didn't come back for maybe another 8 years after I got here. So I didn't grow up with brothers. I grew up mostly on my own. They're also 20 plus years older than me. So it was just kind of more like, I just didn't have that connection with my
right,
brothers. Yeah.
right, yeah, right. That's a big gap, and especially if they, yeah, it's a big gap. And
Yes.
where are you now with them?
I'm still like family is a weird thing, for me. It's not their fault, but family is a weird thing for me. And so sometimes we're cool, but if I don't reach out the way they want me to reach out. And so often they get upset, that I'm not as connected, like I don't connect with them as often or as much as they'd like to. Um, so yeah, sometimes we have our challenges, we have our challenges every now and then. Yeah.
You're making choices that again still maybe protect you to some
Absolutely.
degree. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
have a family.
And I have a family. So now I'm like relearning what family looks like and what those dynamics structures look like and trying to, create it for myself ultimately. Yeah.
So understanding about abandonment, what are the other scars or things you had to work, emotions, wounds you had to work through? And do you feel you've worked through them completely, 80%, 90%, or whenever?
I'd say for the most part, I'm like between 80 and 90%. There's elements like in my marriage, it shows up every now and then. With my daughter, it shows up when it's more familial, it shows up. And I catch myself in certain moments and I have to, just recognize maybe this is a result of why I'm speaking this way or acting this way or responding in that particular way. So I'd say about that much. But one thing I wanted to ask you, when you say like how much I've worked through respect, like just with respect to abandonment as a whole, or just kind of like through the journey, like through my journey
No, abandonment as a whole.
as a whole.
And as a whole.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and what tool, for our audience, for those watching, and what tools, like how did you, because I understand my own journey, but how, I know it's an ongoing journey, but what tools did you use or do you use to kind of work through that?
Absolutely. I definitely still say 80, 90%. Some of the other things that I've kind of like have had to experience or go through with abandonment was, my parents also worked a lot. They were working super hard. My mom worked a graveyard shift. She'd come home and then she had another job and then do it all over again. So I was somebody who raised myself. Like by the time I was 8, I made my own breakfast, walked myself to school. I had a babysitter that helped and took care of me. Unfortunately, because one day I was upstairs and chose not to go to the babysitter to finish one of my favorite shows called Caillou at the time, my mom got a call from CIBC. I picked up at 6 years old and they asked, "Is your mom home?" And I said, "No, she's not home." And I didn't know, I shouldn't have said it, but I was truthful. I said she wasn't home. The lady at CIBC sent the police to come to my door. They took me into
Wow.
foster care. And after they took me into foster care, they, of course, Black woman, and I was with a white family. I almost drowned during the weekend that I was there. There was like not to go too deep, but I almost drowned. Number one. Number two, there was another young girl that was there who, we were doing things sexually we shouldn't have been doing at 6 and I think she was like 9, 10 years old. And, you know, that really affected me because I was being exposed to things at such an early age. But again, that feeling of like, where's my mom? And
was that just a weekend, you're saying?
That was a weekend. Yeah, just a weekend. So by the Sunday or the Monday, they came over, checked the fridge, made sure like I had a room to sleep in, you know, that my mom was, you know, taking care of me properly. Like my mom still talks about it to this day. Like it really bothers her that took place.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, they came in your home and, you know, just inspected to make, are you a good mom? Of course she is, you know, of course she is. So that took place. But, you know, just thinking about abandonment, not having my mom there very often just made me very independent. You know, I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to be self-sufficient. I learned how to cook at an early age. So I always like, not that I need people, but sometimes asking for help is really difficult to do to this day. And that's why I say that 90%, like if I ask you for help, are you going to, I'm an empath. You can ask me for something. I'll never bring it up again. I'll never remind you that I did something. I just won't do it. I just don't. But there's people who, hey, you remember when I did that for you? Can you? And it's like, you know what? I don't want that, you know? So all to say, there's that element. And then when my dad came in, my dad ended up coming back. I came back in 1996. In June of 96, and he came back November of 1999. So about 3 years until my dad came back, and, you know, just me and my mom. Then I noticed when my dad came, the relationship with my mom changed heavily, drastically, you know. He felt as though he lost years of building legacy, years of building for himself, because he didn't have the same opportunities back in Ghana. So the dynamic changed where my mom was really focused on being a wife. And so I felt it, and I couldn't really articulate it, but I felt disdain and kind of upset with my father, you know, because he was emotionally absent, but physically present. And I think what I struggled with was I just wanted my dad to see me, you know, just pop some here, see me, but he didn't. And so we grew up very disconnected. We grew up in a space where he was often on the phone, and because he didn't give mom and I attention, my mom resorted to kind of distracting herself with the TV. So what does that leave me? That leaves me, I just need to leave the house then. I don't want to be here. No one's here to talk to me. No one wants to know how my day was. Like there's no communication here. There's no conversation here. So I just wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there. Or I just found my own vices.
You were abandoned again.
Again.
That's just part of the journey. You were abandoned again.
Again. Yeah. Again. So I never even, it's funny what you said. I never even took it as a form of abandonment, but that's exactly what happened. That's actually what happened. So the only other thing I can add in terms of, you know, dealing with abandonment in that sense was just more so seeking for that connection with my parents. And they also had me very late in life. They had me, my dad was 46, my mom was 43 when they had me. I wasn't supposed to, you know, so they're like at that point, they're in their 50s taking care of this 6-year-old. They're like, yeah, like we're done. We're past this, you know? So again, like you said, abandoned again. So those are some of the things that I worked through, and some of the tools that I really used was poetry. Early on, poetry became, like the paper gave me permission to express myself without judgment, and the pen gave me voice. What are some of the other tools that I work through? I would say would be specifically meditation has been great for my life and for my journey. Early on, I was doing some yoga and some yoga practice. Community building, volunteerism were some tools. And if there was anything else, though, it would just be reading. I just became an avid reader, and I remember being like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I just kind of like disappear in books when everybody else wasn't paying attention. And those are
so. When did you start? When did you start your? When did you actually sit down and say, I'm doing poetry? Were you aware, or were you just writing, or how does that?
Yeah, at that point, I was getting into a lot of trouble at 13 years old. I had just left the school where I got into a lot of trouble at. My first time coming to the school, this grade 8 teacher sees my record of all the times I've been suspended, all the times I've been arrested. And instead of judging and labeling me like every other teacher, she asked me she said, tell me your story. So I told her my story. She gave me a pen and paper and she introduced me to poetry. And I just grasped it quickly and I just started writing poems. So that's how I got introduced to poetry in that sense. I put it down, I picked it back up, but then basketball became, another outlet for me. So I think I realized that I had been abandoned and I needed to work through it. It didn't really happen until maybe I was about 20 years old, 2021, where I started diving through some of those conversations with myself. And even then, I don't think I truly understood what it was. So maybe 25 is when it really like dawned on me. Like I need to, like I've dealt with abandonment and I got some work to do.
I didn't really start until I had my son at 39, and I said when I knew I was pregnant, I said time to kind of work on that baggage that you can't try to not give him, try not to bring that baggage into the relationship. Of course, some did filter through. I'm only human, but
yeah.
the fact that I decided to actually do the work, and it started with whatever it was, and I was jokingly, but it's true. I started with Tony Robbins CD tapes or whatever it was. But I mean, there were other things. Some people go to church, find community. And, I didn't find community. I was like yourself, doing it on my own, trying to figure this out on your own. And I know this saying that I've heard, you can't become yourself by yourself.
Love that.
So it is something I had to learn and still learn, and because I hear myself and you have difficulty asking for help, and I think a lot of people who have been through abandonment or feel abandoned, even within their family, that it doesn't mean you don't have to go to fosterhood or be adopted. You could be within your first family and just not fit in, or whatever that means for you, or not feel there. So I do understand that. Having a teacher step in, that's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
That's what a blessing.
Blessing. And she's still in my life to this day. Still involved in my life to this day. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. So the poetry you wrote, what I'm not going to ask you to do it here, but how has your poetry evolved, do you think, from when you first started to where you are now?
My poetry is very self-reflective. I kind of use my story as a muse for other people to see themselves in their own stories. And just going back to this idea of alchemy, I believe in alchemy. One of the books that really started to get me shifting and thinking was just after I finished high school. I picked up The Alchemist and I learned about the process of alchemy. I learned about what that was, that it wasn't just a chemical transformation, but it's also a spiritual transformation of taking life's rocky moments and turning that into, I call it golden opportunities, And I would say, reading that book was really powerful for me. I started thinking about my journey. And when I write poetry these days, I always ask myself, what can I share with other people? Like, what story can I tell? And what lesson can I have that resonates with other people, that others can walk away from, take something away from? Because I believe my purpose here on this earth is, yes, sure, as a poet, as a messenger, but as a vessel. I feel like I'm a vessel. I'm a vessel of love, of empathy, of community and creativity. And, I'm just grateful that I found my purpose at such an early age and that I can share that with others. But my poetry is really rooted in purpose and passion and healing, in transformation. And that's something that really, really speaks to me. And I just hope that others, anybody who hears my poetry can take something away for themselves.
So you consider yourself a leader and a mentor and a guide.
Definitely leader, mentor, guide. One of the things that resonates with me more than leadership is like I used the term earlier, but more as like a vessel. I feel like by sitting, taking time to sit with myself in prayer and meditation, the more I've done that, the more, some people call it downloads, but I hear the voice of God, or what I believe to be the voice of God. And and sometimes not even a voice. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm moving and I'm wondering, where am I going? And I'm just kind of being led, I'm being led to something. And I think fortunately I've been very grateful to meet people who have supported me in being able to create spaces, opportunities, platforms for others as well. Similar to what you came and saw 8 months ago, just a platform for other people to heal and to express themselves. Because mine is yours and mine and yours is abandonment. But for many others, it could be depression. It could be, loss. It could be shame, could be guilt, could be whatever it is for them. And I hope those spaces, my poetry, all of that can be a vessel to bring people to the other side, their other side.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. In regards to the youth, when youth hear you, or when you're speaking with youth or sharing your poetry, what is the reaction you get from them? What is the feedback or response to it?
It's interesting because most of them don't necessarily know how to process right away, because it's like the first time where I was at a school just last week, and I shared this poem with them about having to navigate this world in the skin, and in sharing this poem with them, a lot of them didn't realize, it's almost like this realization, but some of them don't necessarily know how to respond in real time. Sometimes it comes a little bit later. But by me being vulnerable in those spaces, what I see is that it gives them permission to be vulnerable too. It allows them to see themselves in my story and ask, okay, well, what can I share? Because Sharon Lee, let me tell you, some of the stories, some of the poems they write that I hear, it makes me feel so privileged that they're so comfortable and vulnerable enough to open up and share those things with me. And they'll just say, sir, I want you to read it. I don't want anyone to see it, just you, only you, and that, especially the school that's labeled as a troubled school, it brings me so much joy and so much happiness, so much joy. So
what do you see as the key things in youth today? Actually, what do you see as like the vulnerabilities or the emotions that seem to be most present for youth today? And is there a difference between young males and young females?
Yeah, I notice a lot of the young women are not. A lot of the young men are not always comfortable, and same as back in the day. It's just this idea of sharing emotions, talking about their feelings. There's still a little bit of machoism, especially at that high school age. So there's this apprehension to talk, this apprehension to open up, because it's not seem as cool. But then there's another, demographic of young men who are open to be vulnerable. The apprehension is still there, but there's this anger that they have, or this disappointment they have for what life could have been or should have been. And so, I'll get that dynamic, and then I can help them. I can help those guys write. I can help them tell their story. Then there's others who there's still this sense of, nah, I'm not ready to talk about it. I'm not ready to share. But if I have a one-on-one conversation with them, they'll open up to me, one-on-one, cool. I think my presence, I like my presence to be calming and safe, so that they can feel comfortable. The young women, one thing with them is I just tell them my truth. I'm very open with the young women. I tell them, what I've been through and how that has shaped me. But I think more often the young women are really open to share their stories. It's almost like they're just waiting for the opportunity to tell it. And the opportunity is often through my workshops and my speeches, where they're like, okay, I feel comfortable with this person, and I can share a little bit about what I'm going through.
So your workshops are all creative workshops in terms of spoken word or writings. Is that what?
Yeah, so I'll go into schools. I'll go into schools and I'll give speeches about, finding your purpose, about overcoming adversity and things of that nature. And then I'll do workshops on how to write and express yourself. So that's typically what I do within the schools. And TDSB, Brampton School Board, I've been to almost every school board, but that's a big part of what I do, yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. So let's go to the parents or to the adults. How do you, because there's a lot of unhealed adults raising
So many.
children,
Yeah.
and how do you, is there a place for them, adults who come to you and do workshops? So, because I feel that expression, just doing this show, I see that expression as needed as it is with young people, and harder, they seem to be more ready at a certain age to let it out, because I want to dump this now. This is enough. But there are a lot of unhealed adults out there.
So many. So many unhealed adults. I actually prefer doing workshops with adults for that very reason, because they are stewards, they're leaders,
Yes.
they're guides, they're mentors to so many of these young people.
Yes.
So I don't often get the opportunity, but when it comes to young adults, it's usually through speech that I get the opportunity to, just share my vulnerability and open them up to seeing it. They say it's easier to heal a wounded child than it is a broken man. And so a wounded child, they're like you said, they're like, it's enough. I'm ready to talk about it. But a broken man or a broken person, it's like it's calcified, right? Like
Yes.
it's hardened, so it's like you have to break through the wall of the layers of it. So I think the thing is, Sharon, as you know, you have to be willing and open to do the healing. Healing is a two-way street, right?
Yes.
So if they're there, then the conversations continue. Then they come out to my event, so we stay in touch. But often, sometimes it kind of ends there, because life happens. They've got jobs, they got things they got to do. I do want to get into coaching. I'd love to get into coaching in the future.
I was going to ask you that you're right there.
I am.
I've had many years of training in that, and as a coach or transformational leader, you are perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Coach. Just a sense of safety, as you said before. You feel safe with you. You have the experience. You're open. You're ready to learn. You're learning with the people you work with. I mean, you're learning it, but that's how it works.
Absolutely.
It's not like you're coming in, I know it now.
Nope.
It doesn't work like that. We grow with the people we're serving, which is lovely. So what is your North Star?
My North Star, it's changed, but if I were to just say with where I am right now, I'd love to be, it's not about being known, but it's more about spreading the impact of the work that I do. I want to be able to, I see it when I get off stage and people come and they're like, oh my goodness, Randall, you wouldn't even know I've been dealing with this. And they tell me their stories. Or, just a couple of days ago, I went to this school. When I finished, all the kids wanted to give me a high five. Thank you. This was the most inspirational person that came to my school. And so I call myself a vessel. I don't say that to big up myself, but more about the work that I do, and so my North Star would be able to tour the world, travel the world, reaching as many people, whatever ears and any corners of the world that are willing to hear what I have to say. That's really important to me. When I was 6 years old, Sharon, I used to walk around my house because I was always home alone. I used to walk around my house pretending like I was 8 actually, pretend I was talking to thousands of people. So I always knew that speaking was something that I was destined to do. I just didn't realize it was going to come in this form, or I didn't realize that in order to have a story to tell, that I had to be cut, broken, bruised in order to be able to heal and then provide that mirror for other people to see what healing looks like after being broken and bruised. So that would be my North Star, just touring and taking my family with me. The other North Star would be if Rise, what we do with Rise and how many young people it's helped since 2012. I'd love to see that also expand. And I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of down south, I think they need it so much in the States. They need it more than ever. Spaces like that are so important. So yeah, I'd love to take my work. I'd love to take Rise's work, and I'd love to travel the world, inspiring people.
Now, do you find your voice is as effective with all manner of children, whether they're black, white, LGBTQ plus. Does that work with everybody? I mean,
Everybody. I try to cater my message so everybody can see themselves in it.
yes, yeah, that's very important. And when you say down south, I would tell you, yes, uh, yes, it's needed, but it's also the adults need it.
They do.
The
Big
children
time.
are open, but the adults, as you noted, they're stewards, they're the leaders, they're the mentors, and and we're seeing a lot of things in the ministries that like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different world out there. It's a
Big
different
time.
world. Do you get back to see the lady you called your or felt was your mom back in Ghana at all? Or
I did, and it was so healing. I was in 20. Last time I went back, when I went back for the first time, it was oh, wow. I just realized 12, 20 years later. My goodness. 2016. I went back and I got to connect with her and chat with her. No, it's different because we didn't really stay in touch all those years. My mom didn't know the woman like that. My dad didn't know her like that either. So it was more like a friend of my aunt's who, so yeah, we just never, I think we spoke once or twice since I was a kid. And we connected. And, because she saw me as still that little boy, although I wanted to build that connection with her, seeing her kind of brought up some wounds, and it brought up some
yes,
stuff
yes,
with me because it was kind of like, it's not your fault. It wasn't her fault at all, right? She served as a conduit to help, but there was so much that I wasn't told. There's so much mystery that I wasn't told. And I think a part of it was, I thought you were my mom, you know what I mean? And it's, I know who my mom is, and it's hard for me to separate, you know what I mean? Like what I felt as a kid, and the role you played. So yeah, if every time I go back, I try to see her. I do my best to see her, but sometimes it's a little challenging.
yeah, I'm sure, as you probably know, she felt wounded as well, and
Sure,
for sure, because you raise
sure.
this little boy or whatever, you're with her. I mean, and little boys are like, oh, or little children, it's like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness, and you're
absolutely.
calling her mom and all that, and then the
Gone.
separation have like complete separation. But I do understand how you have to have boundaries for yourself. You definitely have to have boundaries. We all have to have boundaries.
For sure.
So is there anything else you wanted to talk about before I get to this end bit? Because I'm going to do some, I guess, lightning questions with you. Lightning round questions. What did
Yeah.
we talked about your book? Yeah, why the book?
The book, and I'll tie the book into the other thing I want to talk about. I wrote the book, I Am Not My Struggles. So every time somebody says the title of the book, that they can actually say that affirmation that I'm not my struggles. I grew up seeing so many people who define themselves by the struggles that they had, by the experiences that they had. And I want to remind people the things that you've been through and the things that you've seen do not have to define you. You do not have to be defined by your traumas. They are experiences that you had, things that you've gone through. So I wrote that book for the little boy who was just looking for an outlet. And the book for me means a lot because I think about legacy. When I'm gone, there's a piece of me that still lives on that people can access, can read, can understand a little bit about my journey. And, legacy for me is really important. I sound like a broken record. I talk about legacy all the time. But to those of you who are watching and tuning in, I just wanted to tell you that the richest place on earth is the cemetery, because far too often, so many of us take our doubts, our fears, we take all the things that we've been given, the gifts, the skills, the talents, because we were too afraid, because we were abandoned, because we were told that we couldn't do it, because of all these different blanks. Whatever your blank is, what I want to say to you is you have this opportunity on this earth to leave something behind that is going to make a difference on this earth. I don't believe we are here just to exist. I believe we are here to live, that we are here to leave something behind that's going to make it better for the other people, for those who come behind us. If you walk the path and you tripped along your journey, show somebody that, hey, watch out for that that little branch that right there, you might trip. Can you make the path smoother, easier for others that come behind you? And so I just want to remind you that you have an opportunity to create a legacy. So often we think of legacy as something you leave behind, but legacy is something you do every day. It is something that it has nothing to do with the day you're born or the day you leave, but that dash in between is how you're going to be remembered. And you are still carving that dash out today. So please remember, every day is an opportunity to leave a legacy.
Dash in between. That's beautiful. That dash in between.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let me absorb that a minute. Yeah, our stories, when people share their stories, it's like an echo for others,
Absolutely.
But you're giving people permission to share their story. When people find that or find that within themselves and can release some of that weight, then they can move forward step by step, inch by inch, large steps, small steps. And, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Definitely a journey. So are you ready for my questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. If you had 3 wishes, one for your past, one for your present, and one for your future, what would they be?
Ooh. Wow. That is, oof. I'm going to use that in my next check-in question for my team.
Please go ahead.
Ooh. For my past, I wish that I could. Sometimes I wish I could sit with the little boy and just tell him that you're enough, that you don't have to be anything or do anything or be anyone for anyone to accept you. And I just wish I could talk to that little boy back then, because he did so much to be seen, to be approved. He changed who he was so other people could accept him, and he just wasn't being authentic. So for my past, I wish I could talk to that little boy, or that little boy could find acceptance within himself. That's my wish for the past. For the present is to be more creative. To, when you're given a gift of writing, I'm really good at what I do. And sometimes I don't want to use the word squander, but sometimes I know that I could spend more time on my creativity. So my wish for the present is to be more creative, and just to sit and write, even if it's just half an hour a day, just to sit and write, whatever comes out. For my future, I want to make my daughter proud, not just based off of what I've done, but I want to continue making her proud. I want her to be able to see that her father never gave up, that her father, went against the grain. What everybody told him to do, he decided not to do, and that he followed his purpose. And I just pray that I'm just praying for her to have the best possible life ahead for her. And because she deserves it. Her spirit she has a beautiful spirit. She's an old soul. And I just really believe she chose her mom and I. And so I wish that for her, because she just deserves it.
Oh, I love that. And I will say, my son told me when he was young, he used to say that to me, "Mommy, I chose you." And I didn't get it. What does he mean? I chose you, Mommy. And that connection in youth to the world. So, yeah.
Yeah. Powerful.
Next question. What's a truth you wish someone had told you at 16?
A truth that I wish somebody told me at 16. I didn't talk about this, but one of the babysitters I had at an early age, she should say I was fondled and sexually abused, let's say. And I wish at 16 I knew that because I was sexually abused at 8 years old is why I was so promiscuous at 16. that I was seeking for love and validation from women, because I was taught that at 8 years old, I was taught that that's what love was, or what love could be. And I wish I could talk to 16-year-old me and say, you don't need to find it. You're never going to find it between these relationships that you're forming or forging with these different women. And I wish I could tell that 16-year-old that truth.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do one more. Let's see. Well, maybe. What's one belief you've outgrown?
That I've got to be perfect to be loved. Abandoned. I'm sure a lot of abandoned kids feel like they got to be perfect, that they got to do it right.
Yes. Got to do it right.
Got to do it right.
Can't make the step. Oh, it isn't right. I'm still there sometimes. I'm still there. I'm still there. And I guess if you have one more thing, we already talked about what's one thing you're still learning about yourself?
I'm very sensitive. I'm sensitive to tones. I'm sensitive to energies. I'm very sensitive, and I pick up on everything, even if it's not conscious, I pick up on everything, the most subtle things. And I'm very sensitive to energy. That's really it. Very, very sensitive and very empathetic, even more empathetic than I think I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Randell, is there anything else you want to share with us before we say au revoir, merci, à bientôt, soon?
Yes, definitely. To outraise voices, to you, Sharon Lee, to everyone working to put this show together, I would say thank you for what you're doing, because it gives opportunities for people like myself who are still healing, still on this journey, an outlet to talk and share, and in hopes that our stories land on other ears who could benefit. And just wanted to say thank you. Just thank you for what you do, because I didn't know what to expect, but I'm so grateful that I was able to share some of these parts of my past.
Yeah, me as well. Thank you for your honesty, your bravery, and it is bravery to share our stories. And I thank you for that, and for being the guide, the mentor, the leader, because we need more of you, and you will hopefully guide other young people like yourself to become those mentors and leaders and voices in the world that just go forth in the world and create echoes and ripples and wonderful lives. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Pleasure.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen, and young people and everybody. That was Randell Ajay. Inspiring, awesome, and I am grateful that I met him and had a chance to speak with him. Be well. Till next time.